All right, welcome to our either second or first chunk. I have to figure out what order I'm going to end up teaching this stuff in. But um, welcome to a section of videos on React. And if this is the first section, welcome to the first section. If I choose to put this after the to-do list application, then this should clarify some things for you. That's probably what I'll end up doing. But anyways, either way, wherever this ends up, welcome. And in this series of lectures, we're going to be looking at some of the kind of basic tools that make React what it is. In particular, one of the reasons I wanted to put this perhaps after that first chunk of videos is we are going to be looking at object-oriented React and functional React. And so the object-oriented stuff can be really weird to look at. And so I wanted to really, out of these videos, the things I want you to figure out and I want you to understand are what hooks do and why we use them, right? The difference between kind of old React and new React, and why hooks are the way that they are, what it is that they're actually doing. I want to kind of explain a little bit about what JSX is in a bit more detail. So that's that JavaScript HTML hybrid language that React is used for. And just a few other kind of just general things. And kind of just get a little bit more familiarity with the workflow and how React works. So there shouldn't be any homework from this section. It's just going to be some kind of watching along, doing some coding along if you want to. But really, I just want to kind of explore a little bit more about what React is and kind of how it works. So what we will do is we're going to head over here. I'm going to pull up a terminal. And we're going to, shouldn't be anything in here. Okay, we're going to make a new directory. mkdir. Make a directory, and we're going to call it, what did I end up calling it over here? It needs to be consistent. Learning React dash one. Learning React dash one. I'm going to pull that open. So basically what we're going to be doing here, there's going to be three tools that we're going to use that we're going to import. We've already seen them, but we didn't really talk about them that much. We're going to pull in React. We're going to pull in the React DOM and talk a little bit about how the DOM and React work together. And then, okay, thanks for updating. And then we're going to look at Babel, just a smidgen, and JSX. So that's going to be this video. It really shouldn't take very long. We're just going to see some stuff. And so let's go ahead and we're going to start out with just a plain HTML. I'm going to say index.html if my computer will let me. There we go. Right. And if you have your shortcuts available, you can use your shortcut. That's just fine. We'll go ahead with my React app, just like that. And that should be pretty much all we're going to do at this point. The next thing we'll do, we're going to pull open a terminal. And we've got a series of commands that we are going to pull in. So I'm going to actually just put these here. We can see them. And all that they are doing is, if we can get this to go away, all that these are doing is they're going to these URLs, which is where the actual React code for these different versions lives. And curl is a command line tool that will go and specifically go to that. So curl is usually used to just get web pages back, right? So you just do curl google.com. This will give me an error, but you can see that this is HTML that it's getting back. It says the document has moved. It's no longer there. And so we can actually take this real quick and curl that. And this is actually all of the stuff that google.com actually has in this HTML, which is a ton, and we don't really care. But you can see kind of in the middle of this stuff, we've got, we got style tags, we've got image, we've got all kinds of stuff, right? On click equals function, blah, 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 blah. But none of that is what we're focusing on right now. So we're going to go ahead and clear that. But kind of the idea here is that we're going to curl, and then this -l flag will download it. And we're going to use this arrow, this caret, and that is in Linux, that is how to, and I think Windows does this too, and Mac, because Mac and Linux are very similar. But it's going to actually take whatever it gets back from this, whatever document there, and it's going to save it to this path. So for you, this might look a little different. It's kind of wherever you made your folder. So if it's not in your documents, self-paced front end, React, learning React folder, then you should change that to what it needs to be. But I'm going to copy paste this thing here, and we should see this appear over in here as soon as I press enter. No such file, edit, or directory. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a react.js file. That'll be fine. And then let's try this again. Okay, I must have done that wrong. So I'm going to right click this. I'm going to say copy path. And I'm going to put that, see what the difference is. Okay, so slash user slash brand name file. So we're going to go back here and we're going to go back and put my full file path here, I guess. Did it have slash users? All right, cool. So we're going to have slash users slash Brandon A. Paul slash documents. Get rid of this here. I just needed to see what that line was. No such file or directory. Why? There we go. So now it's downloading it, and now if we go to react.js, this file should have a whole bunch of code in it. And lo and behold, there is a bunch of code in it. There's tons and tons of code. There's actually about 25,000 lines, I think. Oh, no, not this one. React DOM is a lot bigger. So this is just React, okay? That is just React. Now we're going to do the next one here. And I'm going to not include that just yet. Do that, and then I'm going to create my react-dom.js file, copy the path, paste that in. That should do it again. This one should take a little bit longer because I think this one is the really massive one. Yeah, it is. Really massive piece of JavaScript, right? Just shy of, here's a little over 26,000 lines of code, which is a bunch. And then, so React is the actual logic of how React works. React DOM is going to be how React kind of works with the document object model and talks to the browser, kind of goes back and forth. The last one we want to do is, well, we're gonna do some other stuff first. So here, let me go ahead and get this shrunk down. So now we have those. We can go ahead and add some stuff there. And what we'll be doing, we're going to copy script tags for both of these. Put them in like that. And so script source react.js, script source react-dom.js. So we're going to import both of those into our HTML, which is great. And last thing we'll do is we're going to put a div here, and it's going to be app, about like that. And I believe, yeah, cool, so that's fine. We'll press enter here, and make a comment, and it will say app appears here. So again, from the last set of videos, you remember that the div ID equals app. This particular thing right here is going to be where the app actually appears. Now again, you don't have to do an entire application as a single page component. So our to-do app that we just did, that one, kind of the entire process, like the entire app was in that. But if I wanted to, I could also put something outside that div, right? I can still put h1 tags here, and so say hello app, right? And then the rest of the app would appear underneath this, right? We can still do that kind of thing. We kind of did that within our app component in the last video, but we're not gonna do that here. We're more just concerned with this one thing. But just keep in mind that you can make an entire website in static HTML, CSS, and then just have like one component be React. And so this would be how you would do that. You could also have other apps that are not targeted to app. You could call it, really you could call this whatever you want to. It's just standard practice to call it app. And so there's that. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to write some JSX. And so we've got our React installed and React DOM installed. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do another script tag, script, and inside of this we're going to say React DOM.render. And this should start looking a little familiar. And we're going to say h1 h1 ID equals my heading. Close that. We're going to say span. And this will say hello. We're going to put an M inside JSX /M world. Close the span, and then we're going to close out our h1. And then we're going to do a comma. And we'll say document.get element by ID, and we're going to go find the app. And I don't know if this will work just yet. It actually probably won't. But what we will do is, actually we don't need to npm anything because we have it actually just locally installed right there. So we should be able to just open up a live server and do this. So let's go ahead and open this. Go to React, learning React 1, and this might work. I didn't think it did. At the body here, you got div ID app, and somewhere along the lines, this did not actually execute. And so what we're going to end up doing, give me a second. All right, got it. So I often will use, I'll just launch right into create React app when I'm making React applications. Usually that's kind of the whole thing that I'm doing. And so sometimes when I goof off and mess up my operating process and I do things like this, which is not the normal way that we make React apps. I'm just showing you this as an intellectual exercise. But when we do stuff like this, and we do things kind of not in your normal habit kinds of ways, things can get a little bit weird. But so our ID is app. Our app appears here. What I've done is I've said React DOM.render. So .render is a function of the React DOM. And then we're going to create an element, a reactive element. It's going to be the type h1. This would be like properties that we would give it. So we could say, you know, like ID equals my app or something like that. And then hello world is going to be the content inside of it. And we're going to bind that to the element that we got by the ID called app. So now if we go back over here, now we see hello world. That's all groovy. We can actually probably... apparently this is not reading it as React yet, which is interesting. Because you remember in that last video we had the components stuff available over here. We do not have that here. And so it is actually running the React on its own before it's actually finishing this. The script tags are handling that. So that's fine. That's cool. But let's go ahead and we need one more kind of tool to do the thing I was just trying to do, right? So if I just Control Z a bunch, to get this to work, this is going to be JSX. So this is going to be writing HTML and JavaScript kind of combined. This is its own specific language called JSX. And this obviously will not render over here. If I press refresh, nothing happens and nothing gets inserted into the app. And so what we're going to need to do is install one more thing, and that's called Babel. And if you're with me for that last lecture, then you'll remember that. And we can do this, and then I'm going to make my babel.js file. I'm going to copy the path and put it here. You need to make a space, or otherwise it's going to try and read that as part of the actual URL. That's what I want. That one. Great, and bing, there it is, and we've got this. Oh, and it said it can't find it. Did I spell it wrong? Did I spell it wrong? Where's my notes? Wrong page. Babel dash standalone. So yeah, we got an error. Yeah. I'm sure I just spelled something wrong. Oh, there's no UMD in it. Okay. Standalone / Babel. Yep. No UMD this time. The other files had that. So I will change that as well on our notes. And that looks more correct. And it is a wall of text that is hard to read. It's also extremely wide. That's part of why it is the way it is. Just fine. I'm not super concerned about what it looks like because we don't actually even need to know what it looks like. This needs to go away right there. Cool. So now we've got that. What this will do, and we actually need to import our Babel script here. And so we're gonna have script source, and this is gonna be babel.js, and that's fine. We need that to run before this stuff runs. The other thing that we're gonna do is we're going to change the type of script here. This is gonna be type equals text. Oops. Text / Babel. And what this will do is this will actually pull, it will access this, so we have access to it already, but it's going to run this inside of this Babel thing. And what Babel's doing, so it takes, we talked about this in the last lecture series too, but this is a little bit more obvious now. It takes newer JavaScript or newer tools for JavaScript, and it does what's called transpiles them, which is different than compiling. Compiling is changing it to a completely different language. Transpiling, well, I guess it's hard to kind of distinguish the two. You can Google it if you want to, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take this from JSX, which is not supported natively by browsers. We're going to take it from the JSX and boil it down to JavaScript that our browser can read. And so now if I come back over here and refresh the page, now we can see hello JSX world is working here, and we've got this h1 with the ID my heading down there with the span inside of it. And that's the stuff that we actually told it to render directly from over here. And so that is our very first introduction to, well, not I guess our very first, we already did a whole app. But now, again, we're starting to see some other approaches to React, some other ways of writing it. This is not how I would normally do it. And these files are huge. So if you do choose to put these on GitHub, I would personally add a .gitignore file that does not put these things on there because A, you didn't write any of them, and B, they take up a ton of memory. So I have them on my GitHub for the time being. I'm probably going to take them down after I finish these videos because they're taking up like half of my available free GitHub space, and I don't like that. So point is, this is kind of an introduction to this, and just kind of another way of going about writing it if you want to. And I highly do not recommend doing it this way though. So it's very inefficient, it's very big. But we can see kind of more of what's going on here, and it's accessing React and React DOM. These are just tools that come with JavaScript from these JavaScript files, and we can just put them in here. So cool beans. Next video we're going to talk a little bit more about components and looking at those at kind of a really low level and what we can do with those. So I'll see you in the next video for that.